Welcome to One Tired Teacher, episode 162. Why is it so important to teach students about careers in STEM? So today I have another amazing guest who will be joining us at STEMCon 2022, and that is Erin Twamley. Let me say that right. Erin Twamley. She is an amazing children's book author and teacher trained. She is really incredible, and she talks to us today about STEM careers and getting kids excited about that and imagining the possibilities. Oh, so motivating. You're gonna love it. I hope you stick around.
Welcome to One Tired Teacher. And even though she may need a nap, this teacher is ready to wake up and speak her truth about the trials and treasures of teaching. Here she is, wide awake. Wait, she's not asleep right now, is she? She is awake, right? Okay. From Trina Debery Teaching and Learning, your host, Trina Debery.
Hey, so I'm excited about this one. This is another great interview that I did with Erin Twamley, who I told you in the beginning is a children's book author and also teacher trained. She's got such great ideas and really motivating for kids. I felt immediately motivated with just a few of the careers that she said, because it's so outside of the box. It's not your normal typical engineer, scientist, zoologist, oceanographer. So you see, I can't even say the normal typical ones, but she talks about some of these really far reaching, really cool different things that people can do in the area of STEM. And I just think it's so motivating for her students. So I think you're going to like this. I think you're going to really enjoy it. And she has 2 must-attend sessions at STEMCon this year. And speaking of STEMCon, have you got your ticket for it yet? You've got to get it. It's so amazing, and you're going to be inspired. If you've been inspired the last couple of weeks with different STEMCon-focused presenters coming on the podcast, then you will be even more motivated when you see all that we have for you at STEMCon. So many sessions, plenty of time to absorb it and take it all in. If you can't attend live on the 8th through the 11th, that's okay, because that's all weekend, and we know you've got families, we know you're busy, so you have a whole year to watch all the sessions. The things that are live will be available for replay. Just one session that won't be, but everything else will be. So, make sure you sign up, you grab that. You can do a little bit at a time. Every week you can be motivated by a new STEM conversation. So exciting. All right. I hope that you'll join us. You can find that at trinadeveryteachingandlearning.com /STEMCon22. And I'll also link to that in the show notes to make it easier. Now, I'd love for you to take a listen to Erin. You're going to be inspired. So I'm excited today to have a fellow STEMCon person with me here today, Erin Twamley, who is the author of children's books and all kinds of really cool things. And we're going to talk about STEM careers. So Erin, welcome.
Thank you so much, Trina, for having me. I'm very excited to be presenting at the Elementary STEMCon Conference in April of 2022. This is my second time presenting, and I've got 2 different sessions. And the one we're going to talk about today is focused on STEM careers, because I know careers in the workforce are a hot topic, both in the classroom and in the workforce.
Absolutely. So that is so exciting. So talk a little bit about like your children's books and things like that, because I know my audience would be super excited about that aspect too. And then we'll jump into STEM careers.
That sounds great. So I am a children's book author. I'm also a trained teacher. So like many of you, I always had an idea that, hey, I'd love to write a children's book, except I wound up writing children's books that are about 100 pages long. So they're big, thick, nonfiction books. They're not necessarily textbooks, but they probably have a little bit of a textbook feel. They're all illustrated, and I've had different publishers. So you just search my name, Erin Twamley, you'll find kind of all the books that I've got out there. But I'm focused on the topics of science and technology, engineering, and mathematics. And in particular, sharing role models, cool inventions, and getting kids curious about what problems are being solved in the world, what solutions are we using to solve those problems, and then who are all of those people that are helping to make our world greener, healthier, and cleaner.
That's exciting. That's so exciting. I think that, yes, you're definitely right about people, like a lot of teachers feeling like they want to write a children's book. That has been for sure like a thought in my mind for a very long time. But I think I think that's so cool that you're doing that, and also that you're contributing to that, to the STEM world, and getting kids excited about the possibility of those types of careers and that kind of thinking. And I just think that's really exciting.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I would say the best advice I have for anybody out there who's got a book idea in their head is put it on paper, because that's the first step, right? Is getting those ideas onto paper and then get started. And it's really a fun journey. And I know many teachers are great writers and already great readers, both in and out of their classrooms.
Hmm. Yes, that's true. So that's an idea. Okay, so tell us a little bit about STEM careers and the value and importance of talking to children about that.
Yeah, so I write a series called the Everyday Superheroes series, and it's all about different STEM careers. So the first book you can find, it's got careers like animator, vertical farmer, sustainable fashion designer, environmental lawyer, and a lot of other ones, but kind of some unique ones, because what I really wanted to do was expand the thinking beyond just some of the careers in the classroom that we teach about, like coding or an engineer or a
Mhm.
zoologist, or, some of those kind of traditional, I would say, careers that we're familiar with. So I wanted
Yes.
to expose, what are these new careers? What are these up and coming careers? What are the careers that didn't exist when we as teachers were kids, but
Yeah.
now our kids have that opportunity to be in these new fields, to be solving these new problems? So I want to take this lens of talking about careers in terms of what problems are we trying to solve and who is leading that. And I think when you
Mm.
take that lens with careers, it becomes a little bit more interesting for kids. And we flip that question of, it's not what do you want to be when you grow up? It's what problems do you want to solve? How do you want to contribute and make the world a better place? And that's what I want to do with careers in elementary school, is use that curiosity, use that wonder and problem solving mindset to get them thinking about opportunities for them in the future.
Oh, absolutely love that. I think that is so cool, and I can think of so many kids that if it had just been framed in that way too, that they would have started thinking about things differently. Like, what problems in the world do you want to solve? I think that's one of my favorites. And then even when you said the fashion designer with what was it? The
Sustainable fashion
yeah.
designer.
Yes. I was like, oh, I'm like, even I was like, I got excited for a second because you're right. Those things that you don't think of, like you do automatically think of those traditional careers, but that opens it up to a whole new world, and even possibly a job that we don't even know that's going to exist at some point.
Right. And so one of the great things that I get to do is I interview real women. So these are all real women in these books who are in these careers. And so I got to meet a textile engineer, and she's figuring out what are all the materials that we should be used to make clothing. I got to meet Dr. Grace Tao, and she actually designs clothing for people with physical disabilities. So
Oh,
something I've never thought about, but if you had a different function in your arm or your leg, you might need your zippers or your buttons or holes in different places so that you could just do a basic thing like get dressed. So she has a whole company and organization around how do we redesign and reimagine clothes for people who have different physical disabilities and needs, and in one of the most basic things like getting dressed.
yeah.
So what I love is that it's expanding our thought process, right? And I think even with fashion design, there's a lot on recycling and reusing, but these textile engineers are really trying to figure out, are there other things we could be using like algae to make clothing? Are there,
Oh.
sustainable materials? And what are they? And so they're actually using their imagination, they're using their curiosity, and they're solving this problem by working together.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's so fun. So how do you come up with ideas for new books? Like where like I mean, how did you I would never even have thought of that. Like do you know what I mean? Like are you just thinking of problems in yourself and then going, "Oh, there's a career for that."
Yeah, so I think I always like to say that I put my 10-year-old hat on. Like
Mm.
I view the world like a 10-year-old. So when I'm talking to even professionals, I'm like, that's really interesting, but break that down. What does it look like? How big is it? What color is it? How does that fit into X, Y, and Z and make those connections? And so I think sometimes as teachers, if we take a step back and remember, I was in the classroom. So I get it. I've been in and out of the classroom, but sometimes it's if we put that hat on of like, I'm a learner too, then we
Mhm.
can learn back with our kids. And I think that's what's neat about careers is you don't have to know all the careers as the teacher, right? I
Yeah.
think sometimes students expect that. They're like, well, what
Yes.
are other careers, Miss So-and-so? Please tell me. But really, it's a fun opportunity for you to learn about careers that
Yeah.
you might not have known as well.
I totally agree. I think that's a great idea. Do you have how many books do you have in that series? Just out of curiosity. Like if you were in the classroom and you had like baskets of books and you had one for everyday superheroes, like how many would you even be able to collect?
So there are two books. So the first
Uh-huh.
one is Everyday Superheroes, Women in STEM Careers. So that's out there right now. You can find it on Amazon, Bookshop, all the fun places. The second book in this series is Women in Energy Careers, and that comes out this July, July 2022. And
That
the
is so
third
cool.
book, we're actually already imagining it, and it's going to be women in engineering because I want to teach kids the difference between all the different types of engineers and
Yes.
expand this mindset of what an engineer is and what do they do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our goal is to start with a trilogy. There's lots of ideas to do more, right? Some teachers are like, do computer science,
Yeah.
do climate tech, right? And so the great news is there are so many different careers, but this is where we're going to start. You can find STEM careers. Energy careers is coming July 2022, and then women in engineering in 2024.
Yeah, that's exciting. Okay, so I'm definitely going to link to your everyday superheroes. And do you have a pre-order link by chance? All right, so share that with me
We
so I'll put it in the show notes because that sounds exciting. And if again, like I mean, my media specialist brain and my teacher brain is like, "Oh, baskets of these books." And I get all excited. So, yeah, I think that's so fun. So fun. So what are some questions that you ask the people that you talk to about, about what they do?
Yeah, great. So I always say, I'm going to talk to you like I'm a 10-year-old. So usually I like to start with, do you have a memory or something that sparked you in your youth that sparked your interest in science or math or technology or engineering, right? Or I leave it open-ended, like tell me how you got into this field. I always start with that because I will find that 70% of the time, a teacher influenced them, right? Which is a
Mhm.
great reminder that we teachers make so many connections and we have so many opportunities to inspire kids. And it can just be really small. I just remember when so and so told me that I was good at math. And so I kept that. And then I kept going with math, right? And so I think that's always neat, right? Being a
No,
teacher
I
is
to
sharing that
no, you're
connection.
right. It is. And I that just made me think of, and this is not like motivating them into any kind of career, but when I had my second grade classroom, it was a sports theme this one particular year. And I'm a big Gator fan. I went to University of Florida, so I'm a huge Go Gators fan. And I was like all about the Gators in my classroom. Well, this student was family was on the other side, which is our a rival of Florida State, the Seminoles. And so he decided in second grade that he was going to the University of Florida, which his family was like, no, but he was determined. Now it's really hard to get into in our state of Florida. And which I mean, our colleges are difficult for some reason. And at the end, he graduated and he got accepted to University of Florida. And his mom was like, look, she was, yeah, so it was like this whole, I mean, from a 7-year-old child to, especially growing up in a house that's like not a Florida fan, for him to go. And I think did he just graduate, or he's graduating this year? Yeah, he's graduating this year. So it's very exciting.
I love it. And I think that just speaks to, right? It's those small connection moments that matter.
Yeah.
And they can matter for people's careers. And what's wild is sometimes we don't even consciously make that connection until I ask them. And they're like, oh, this is how I got here, right? Or this is part of my story of why they got there. And so that's really the fun part. The second thing I always ask them about is, what are they most excited about for the future? Whether it's related to science or energy, kind of depends on the topic I'm asking. Mm-hmm. But I think as teachers, we know a lot of the research, we know a lot of the stats about the needs, the impacts for, your reading level, for your success. And I think what we need to do is sometimes just focus on what is the future and how do we excite kids about that, right? Yeah. Regardless of where their skill set is at in this moment or in fourth grade. And so I want them to think about, because many of these women, I'll just give an example, right? They might be the only woman in the field. So I interviewed a power plant operator. She has worked in a power plant for 15 years. She is the only woman. She's the director now of that power plant. But she works with like 40 plus men, right? And she's done that for 15 years. But instead of kids hearing that side of the story, right, I want to know what excites her the most. And what she said is, it's great because I get to work in a team and be a leader and they respect me, right? Yeah. So it's kind of flipping that story and that narrative a little bit. And that's why I like to ask that question about what excites them about the future or the work they're doing.
Yeah, that's exciting. Okay, so what kinds of activities would you suggest to teachers that they do around your books?
Yeah, so the great news is I've got a focus group of awesome teachers that I've been working with. So I do have a Teachers Pay Teachers with a bunch of free resources because we want teachers to try this out and actually tell us, how are you using these stories and careers in your classroom? But some great tips that I've heard, ways that it's being used is, one, we've had lots of teachers use a word wall with careers, right? Mm-hmm. So that they just get familiar with that vocabulary. And it's more than just engineer. It's robotics engineer. It's textile engineer, right? Really kind of growing that. So we've had teachers use word walls. We've also had teachers read about STEM careers just one a week. And then kids do more research on it. That's so she will read a story about a woman who's in that career, like let's say every Friday. And then the next week they get to go do research on learning more about that career. And sometimes they present their findings in the classroom. Sometimes they make it a game where it's like they have to describe the career and then all the kids have to guess what it is, right? Fun. By knowing the features and how it's fun. We've also had students where they have to create themselves as their own STEM superhero or draw themselves in the career they want and tell their own story, right? This is what I would want to do, and this is how I would want to get here. So teachers have done a variety of things. We've also had some hands-on lessons where teachers have, read about a weatherization technician and then built a house using different materials to test out insulation. So they're acting like that weatherization manager, right? Yes. And figuring out what are those materials to weatherize this house. And they can be like unit long plans, or they can be a simple 45-minute one and done. And I think that's being a former teacher. I don't want to be prescriptive, right? Which is why I've given this to teachers and said, tell me how you use this. Tell me what makes sense. And so we're still exploring that. So if you're a teacher and you're like, hey, I'd love to get a copy of the book and then share what I'm doing or what's working, please look me up. You can find my website and email me because we always, love your insight into how you're teaching about careers and what's worked for you.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Oh, I love that. All right, so that's one of the things that you're talking about at STEMCon, right? Is STEM careers, and then so that'll be exciting. What will be that? Like, give us a little teaser. Yeah. Okay. I couldn't think of the word.
So I'm going to do the who, what, where, when, and why and how of STEM careers. So So really, I'm going to give you some tips to introduce it, some concrete things, some downloads, ways to introduce those careers. I'm going to give you some examples of careers that hopefully you've never heard of, so that's going to spark your own curiosity as a teacher of, wow, this is great. And I'm going to link all of that to some hands-on activities so that if you're really looking to go, what we say, beyond the book, you can, with some free activities from different organizations that we've partnered with.
That's so cool. That's a must attend session, I say right now, because you already motivated me with just the few STEM careers you suggested. And so I'm like, oh, that's exciting. And my brain is just spinning. So I think that'll be so fun. And you said you're doing two sessions?
I am. So the second session is called the Renewable Energy Games. So I think, right, for many of us who might be following NGSS standards, energy is a big concept. And in elementary school, I think we often teach about force and motion, but I think kids can really actually get excited about electricity, what powers our planet, where does it come from? So I want to explore, 5 of the most common. I think most kids learn about wind, water, and solar. But I'm going to give you bioenergy. So that's things like ethanol or yeast or grease from French fries or garbage, how we're using that to create power. And then the 5th one is geothermal energy. So the heat inside of the earth. And I'm going to give you, again, what are the careers that go with those kind of 5 renewable energy sources? Cool. And I'm going to give you some hands-on activities to explore those sources, as well as some literacy activities, because I know some teachers want to talk about things like trade-offs, right? What are the ups and the downs, if you will, of solar? So for example, one of the biggest problems in the renewable energy industry is, how do we recycle solar panels? Where do all the solar panels go? They last about 25 to 30 years. That means we have somewhere a pile of solar panels sitting. And that's a big problem that we have to figure out. Can we recycle it? How do we recycle it? Where do we recycle it? How do we safely recycle it? Are there parts that can be reused? Are there chemicals that we could capture and reuse? So those are kind of some of the things to explore in your classroom and in learning about these technologies.
That's so cool. That's so fun. Okay. I'm so excited. Where can my listeners find you?
Yeah, so the best place probably to go is my website, which is just my name, erintwamley.com. And on there, you'll find links to my Teachers Pay Teachers, my social media, all of my books. You can get in contact with me there. That's probably the best place to get started.
Okay, I'm going to drop that in the show notes so they can just click on it and get right to you. That's so exciting. Erin, thank you very much for coming on. And I feel really motivated. So thank you.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Trina, for having me. I'm really excited to be connected with elementary STEMCon teachers and your podcast network. I wish you the best with the rest of the school year. For all of you teachers who are listening, you are rock stars, and we really appreciate you.
Yes, I agree. I second that. You really are amazing. And we are excited to bring you some inspiration and strategies and tips and tools to make the job just a little bit easier, make it more meaningful for you, or allow you to do what you know is best. And we know times are tough, but we really think that this can help. So we hope that you will join us. You can find it at trinadebreteachingandlearning.com/STEMCon22. And I'll link to it in the show notes. We hope to see you there. This one tired teacher is feeling motivated. Until next time, sweet dreams and sleep tight.